right, guys, welcome to the show. I've got the great, the powerful, the heavyweight champion of the world, Damien Dibbell, on the show. Welcome to the show, Damien.
Thank you for having me, man.
Oh, it's a pleasure having you. You are recently crowned. Well, you were champion, and then you just defended the belt now to a guy who I had on the show, super nice guy, Nate Burnard. I watched this fight. So much to discuss here. I want to get into your mindset, the championship mindset, the training, everything. Before we do, man, I just want to kind of learn about your story, tell people about yourself, your story, your upbringing, kind of the whole thing, how you got to where you got to be a champion. And I think the sport is a little underrated now because it's kind of in its beginning stages. I think it's just going to completely evolve eventually, especially with the way people's mentalities are these days. It's like, you've got this like mindset of like, I want quick, give me the knockout. I want
Yeah.
fast, whereas UFC kind of some fights drag on, they go to decision, 25 minutes. You still get, even boxing kind of drags out a little bit. With this, it's like instant action. That's what I love about it, right? I love that I can get the climax immediately. So that's why I'm hooked. So, tell us a bit about yourself. I'll shut up for a bit. Dying to hear your story, man.
Okay. Honestly, it's nothing crazy. Growing up, my dad was in the military, so we moved around a lot. I've honestly my entire like academic career, it's just been a change of school after change of school. But somewhere along that road, I kind of just fell in love with the law, legal documents, like studying how our country's legal system really works. And ever since probably like in middle school, high school, early high school, I've just kind of been set on becoming a lawyer. And this is kind of like a whole like out of left field kind of thing because never really, I've always wanted to like also do some boxing and stuff, but never like at a professional level. I didn't expect to ever get to a professional point. I kind of just started working out and doing this, being more active in fighting, just as kind of like a just trial error, really.
Yeah.
So for this to like have blown up to the point it has kind of been just a journey dragging me along.
Yeah, I watched the last fight. I want to get right to the fight. I don't even want to waste any time here, but we've got to talk about your lawyer, the law thing. But just about the fight, I just like you're just so cool and calm when you did that when you did the fight. But at the end, I remember at the end of the fight, there's one thing that really stuck out to me. You have this like sinister laugh. Did you notice that you did this like laugh? Did you do that on purpose? You kind of after the fight, and even the announcer, look at his laugh. So you're like, you had this like after you knocked out. Were you trying to be mean, or was that just your regular laugh? If you guys don't know what happened, you knocked out Nate. You got the first slap, and then they kind of show you on the corner. You're doing this laugh. Were you just calm, cool, or were you like literally angry and you're happy you knocked out? Can you tell me what happened with the laugh?
Honestly, that's just my natural laugh.
Okay.
like, like in certain situations where I'm like extremely happy, that's just the laugh that comes out. Like when I
Okay.
first rode in my Mustang, there's a video on Instagram, and it's a pretty similar laugh to that because like it was just like I didn't expect it to happen. It was out of nowhere. I was just like ecstatic that I actually pulled out the one hit knockout.
Yeah, I figured it was just your regular laugh, but anyone watching it, like some people might just assume that guy's being a jerk. He knocked him out.
Yeah.
But not the case. Which I didn't think it was the case. But how do you stay so calm? Like it's just cool. Like you seem cool under pressure. Your after interview seem calm. It's like I don't know whether it's just you're calm or is it like a total confidence about you. Like there's like a total like I own it. This is mine. No one's gonna beat me. But I like it. I like the confidence
Yeah.
though. Is it a confidence thing?
I don't think it's really. I don't know if it's about confidence, but it's just I'm calm in knowing who I am and what I'm about. And other people have their opinions on things. Other things happen, but I'm always the type of person that tries to stay true to who I am. So no matter what situation, like even before a fight, I'm nervous right up until I actually get ready to walk out onto that stage because it's a whole different mindset. It's just
Right.
oh, preparation's done. There's nothing else to do now. It's just time to go be who I am and perform.
No, that was pretty remarkable. Like just how calm you were. Now, one thing I was talking about Nate before the fight because I interviewed him before you is one thing I don't like about power slap is the fact that somebody has to take the punch first or the slap first. And again, that kind of you're at a disadvantage when you take the first shot because it's like a bit of a sucker. It is a sucker punch, like pretty much almost right. So the
Yeah.
fact that you went first obviously gave you the advantage and you capitalized on that advantage. Now, if you were on the receiving end and let's just say you got knocked out and you didn't get the first slap, do you think there's something that's going to evolve with the sport where like everybody's guaranteed maybe one hit, or do you see it staying the way that it is? Because again, I just think it's kind of unfair because you're basically set on the coin flip. And this happens in football when they go to overtime. If the team that wins the coin toss, if they drive down the field and get a touchdown, they win the game. Again, it just feels like it's very, dependent on that coin flip.
Yeah.
Do you think it's fair? Do you think it's going to change and evolve? What are your thoughts on how this is going right now with the first slap on coin toss?
Honestly, before I even talk about the rules, in my opinion, it sucks to get knocked out in the first round, but that's just kind of part of the sport. You have to be able to take a hit
Yeah.
to be able to give a hit. For up until I faced Ron, I had never won a coin toss in any of my fights before,
Okay.
and so I don't want to ever blame the coin toss on me losing. So if I got knocked out in the first round, it sucks. You're not going to feel great about it,
No.
but that's just how the sport is. But they are trying to implement a rule. I don't know when it's going to be brought in, but I think it's like the redemption rule or something. So they are going to look to start giving, if you get knocked out in the first round, you have 2 minutes to recover, and then you get a chance to knock the other person out. But you have to knock them out, and that just gets you a draw.
Okay, I kind of like that. I like that. If you can
Yeah,
recover, fine. That's a good point. Now, if he knocks you out, it's a draw. Is that how it
yeah,
works? I
yeah.
like
So
that.
it to me that makes sense. I like that rule in this sport. It takes out more of that debate that the coin flip decides every match. So I think that's a nice rule to add in there to kind of silence that.
I really like that. I hope it goes that way because I think it just, again, had you been on the receiving end, it would have been nice if you can get up and do that. And when Nate got hit, it almost feels like he won. He's like, no, I'm good, but he looked a little shaky. And he's a tough dude, man. Like he is tough. He really, he loves his city, Buffalo. Super nice guy. Do you have any relationship with him in regards to friendship? You talk to him after? Is there a competitive animosity? Are you guys friends? Like I never asked him about your relationship. Do you guys talk at all?
Honestly, we've talked a little bit, not too much, just kind of in passing when we saw each other on Fremont, a little bit when we met at the promo shoot. But from what we've talked and how we've interacted, we've been kind of friends. I wouldn't say there's any animosity between us. We've been chilling, really.
It's kind of like the UFC, for the most part, there's some people that just hate each other, but there's other people that just like, shake hands and hug after because you went to war together, right?
Yeah,
Same
yeah.
type
There's
of thing.
Yeah, it's basically that. There's no hatred or anything. We weren't talking shit in private or anything. Like we were just chilling.
Okay, so what is the mindset? Like we talked about screw loose. I talked to Nate about this, about having some sort of screw loose to do something like this. I had Matt on. He was a former UFC veteran. He fought in the UFC, and guys like yourselves, and even with me when I did MMA, it's like there is something a little bit like loose, or like maybe like you have like a major why. Is it that you're a little bit like, screw loose, like on the wild side, I don't care, take a risk? Or is it more just like a competitive nature, or you have like a major why? Why do you do this sport? Because most people will look at you and say, that guy's insane. Now, I had another guy on, he hangs off the side of buildings. Like that's a little more extreme.
God dang.
His name is
Yeah.
Look him up, Sketchy Mateo. I just had him on the show. His mental, he's like, man, my screws are loose. I don't care. Hangs off 60 floors high buildings, like
Yeah.
absolutely
No.
insane with one hand. Like
No, I
that's
could never do that. No.
that's next level. But what is your why? Is it a why, or is it just like, it's a competitive nature? What's your deal? Why do you want to do this? Why do you do this?
Honestly, I started doing it just for fun because I like to compete. That's just me. I like to fight, but it was just easy way to get into that kind of area.
Right.
And after it just started picking up, and I started doing really well. It turned into, now I'm just fighting. Now let me try to actually like win and progress and set like a name for myself in the sport. Really, so honestly, the biggest reasons I fight is to kind of build a legend for myself. I don't want to say that, but that's kind of what I'm trying to do. And
Crazy.
try to, yeah, just try to put myself through law school too, because that's definitely a major thing.
Is the pay decent? Like, you don't have to tell me how much you pay. I don't know if it's public or not. I'm sure it's public, but is the pay decent? Like, what is it, what is a title fight ballpark pay? Like something like what you did. Is that 10 grand? Is it 100 grand purse? Like, or is that information public?
I'm actually not sure if it's public or not. I'm sure there's like threads of some fighters, but since I'm not sure, I'm not going to say exactly how much.
Okay,
But it's
cool.
definitely decent, especially for me. I'm a 20-year-old, 21-year-old, just came out of college. Like it's decent money for me, that's for sure.
I mean, I used to work at a grocery store at that age, and I was making back then. I don't want to say how old I am, but back then it was $7 an hour. I was clearing $90 a week. So I'm sure you're doing more than $90 a week. So
Yeah,
you're doing good. Mind you, with inflation now, it's probably a little bit crazy. So
yeah, no. And I got to get my dream car. I had LASIK surgery. I'm saving up for law school now, so it's definitely for me. It's worth it.
no, that's amazing. No, I'm really impressed with what you're doing now. How does trading work? This is another thing with the sport that I don't understand. Like I really don't like. Okay, I'm a big Rocky fan. Do you watch Rock? Have you seen the Rocky
Yeah,
movies?
yeah. Rocky's
Yeah.
great.
I get to train. I'm skipping rope. I'm hitting the bag. I'm working my abs. I'm sparring. I'm doing this stuff. But how do you really train for power slap? And I know this is going to eventually evolve and that type of thing. But literally, is there like you are the champion? So like how are you training? I know there's probably like neck exercises, probably jaws. Like are you chewing gum all day? Like are you slapping yourself? Are you hitting a bag? Are you like going over the motion? Like how do you physically train for this? And how many hours a day are you putting in training for a main event?
Honestly, for me, I'm putting in like 2 to 3 hours a day. Some guys put in more, some guys put in less. But I try to hit 2 to 3 hours a day, and it's kind of like a what's that Bruce Lee saying? Where it's like fear the man that's practiced one kick 1,000 times, and not the man that's
Yes.
practiced 10,000 kicks one time. It's kind of that for me, it's practicing the same exact slap, the same exact way, building muscle, building speed, and just doing that consistently. And I've been doing that for the past 2 years. That's how I've gotten to be one of the hardest, if not the hardest hitter in the sport right now.
What are you doing? Are you just hitting? Is it just is it making sure the muscle it's obviously technique, right? So are you
Yeah.
constantly focusing on your technique? I remember baseball back in the day. There was a hitter called John Oliver. He was John Oliver. He played for the Jays. He had that perfect swing. So are you focusing on the perfect motion? Is that kind of the goal every day? Are you slapping like crazy?
Yeah, it's pretty much the perfect motion. So I try to get every hit to kind of look the same. There's different techniques for different people, and different heights matter. So there's some variation to that. A lot of guys like Dwayne will practice different techniques and try to do a little bit of everything. But for me, it's really just the one technique and really hammering that in. And I try to focus the muscle groups, the shoulders, joints, all just building general strength to also help with my slaps.
And what are you
So it's
doing to strengthen the chin and the jaw? Is there a way to physically strengthen? Is it just neck exercises? Like, because if somebody hits you on that button, no matter it's either back here or here, whatever. I mean, not you, but in general, people are going down. I did an MMA fight. He clipped me in the back of my neck, and I don't know. I just watched the fight. I'm
eased.
like, yeah, I'm down. So, what are you doing to make sure that this whole area is stronger?
Honestly, I haven't really done a lot of neck exercises. I started recently, just like kind of laying off the workout bench, hovering the neck a little bit, but I haven't done anything crazy. I don't shoot anything or nothing like that. So it's just kind of how I've always been.
This is see what I don't like UFC one. You saw it. A lot of these guys are either out of shape or just didn't train jujitsu or didn't do that. There's got to be a point where this sport just completely evolves, where you're like you have a specific training regimen. You have to eat a certain way. You gotta like I don't know. Like, do you see it evolving to that, or can I just be right now? Can I just jump in myself and do this? Like, I'm just off the couch, or is it going to be? Is it eventually going to be off the couch, or is it going to be a perfectly trained athlete like Dolph Lundgren and Rocky Four type thing?
Honestly, I think it's going to take a while before it's like set like that because some people are really built for the sport, some people aren't. But right now, I think for at least the champions and the top three, maybe even top five of the divisions, you're going to have to be training if you want to, fight in that at that class. But for anything below that, I feel like that's kind of maybe you could hop off the couch if you just are
Yeah.
naturally gifted at it. But it's definitely starting to get like that now.
It's gonna get more competitive. Is it actually taking off? Because I know it had that initial burst. Then I found people like, I don't know, this is kind of stupid. Again, this is what I'm hearing off the street, like just from my friends and people, and they're like, "Oh, this is kind of cool." Like, do you find that it's kind of on an upwards trend? Where's Power Slap from your field? Do you find it's kind of neutral, or did it kind of like when it took off? Oh, this is kind of cool, and then it went down. Where do you think Power Slap's heading? Do you think it's on an upwards trend right now?
Honestly, I think it. Personally, I think it is. I've definitely seen a lot more growth, a lot more views. I've been getting more comments, more fans. It's definitely. I've seen a lot of growth, but I couldn't speak for the entire sport. As a whole, I don't. I don't reflect those numbers. I don't check those numbers. But for me, I've definitely seen growth in the fan base of the sport.
Okay. Just a hypothetical question here. I know it's a crazy question, but do you think there could be a power kick in the works, some way, like on its own, like its own power kick, where you basically can roundhouse the guy in the face? Serious question. I know it sounds stupid now, but do you see that ever happening, and do you see it possibly integrated after the slap, or is that just too extreme? Like, if I clear cut roundhouse you to the face, you're probably going down. Is
Yeah.
is it a stupid thing, or maybe a front kick, power front kick or something? Do you see the foot? Do you see, basically I'm asking, do you see the foot involved in any way, shape, or form?
Probably not, just because that's a whole different muscle group. Like that's a whole different power generation. You
But
kick somebody the right way, you're gonna break something. I feel like a slap. The only reason we get away with a slap is because it's a slap. You're supposed to keep your feet steady. There's rules set to kind of decrease your power as much as they can, without taking away from the sport. If you start kicking people, there's no way to really decrease the
hey
deadliness of
man,
that.
everything levels up, man. Like, you just gotta take it up a notch. Maybe slapping just becomes too, you get too desensitized to it. Like, let's level this up. And maybe obviously you can't clear cut right to the chin roundhouse. Maybe you get to get an elbow in there and you get to block and see who could take more. Or I don't know. Or remember the old days? I remember as a kid we had the old mercy fights. You grab each other's hands and you
Oh yeah,
maybe they should bring
yeah,
mercy fights or bloody knuckles or something like that. But there's tons of different things you could do. But I just think it's so interesting that they bought Power Slap. I used to see YouTube videos of it all the time. And, I think it's in the right hands with Dana White. If anyone's going to make this big, it's going to be Dana White for sure. Like, it's in
oh
good
yeah,
hands.
oh yeah,
Uh,
most definitely.
okay. So what is the future hold for you now? So you're the champion now. You've not even kind of, you've hit the pinnacle of the sport. What is the goal now? You're going through school. Like, is it like just maintaining the belt as long as you can? Because you got to be a little bit concerned with concussions. You can only take so many hits. You're a young guy. You got your bright future ahead of you. You're an educated man. Maybe you want to start a family. I don't know if you got a family now. You want to, like, what is the goal? Like, there's only so many slaps you could possibly take, right? So, have
Yeah.
you thought about this? Have you thought, like, I don't want to get concussed. Like, so what is the, short term goal? You've already hit the pinnacle. How long do you see yourself defending the belt? What's the future? That type of thing.
Honestly, yeah, not too long. I'm hoping to just keep fighting until I can afford to fully pay for my law school. So if I get the right negotiations and the money comes in the right way, then that'll be sooner rather than later. But
Yeah.
that's really just my goal for right now. Just to be able to survive law school and not go into 200 grand worth of debt.
No, that's a beautiful thing, because the last thing you want to do is come out of school with debt, and a lot of people do that. This is actually a good
Yeah,
way to mitigate all that heavy loss, because that's brutal going in, coming out, getting your first job, then you got to worry about paying that for years. It's very, very good. No, I like the strategy for sure. But what if you become so big and this thing takes off, then you want to continue it? You might be tempted, man. Maybe this over law school, probably not. You're set with the
yeah,
school.
yeah. I'm definitely set with the school, but if it is paying if it pays enough that I'm like even second guessing, I'll
Yeah.
probably just I'll probably try to get like a summer fight when I'm out of school or something. Like try to continue it. But after law school, then I'm I'm going to have to retire. I don't think any law firm's looking to hire somebody that's still fighting professionally.
What type of law? I don't know if you could share this, but what type of law are you taking? Is it criminal law? Is it like injury law?
Honestly, I'm hoping to get into real estate law. Probably
Okay.
either that or contracts. I'm still kind of working through it, deciding which one I want to focus on.
And did you think a couple years ago that like you would be the heavyweight champion of the world at any sport? Like 3 years ago, right now, did you manifest? I'm just because I'm all about manifestation, right? Like putting
Yeah.
your vision out there. Like, did you visualize this or did this just kind of fall in your lap out of nowhere? Or did you think that you've done things in your life to manifest to be the heavyweight champion of the world, even though it's power slap? I mean, I'm not downplaying it at all. Because it came out of nowhere, right? It's still a
Yeah.
prestige thing. It's it's a pro sport. It's prestige. I know some people just aren't aware of it yet, like it's relatively new. But did you ever picture doing this? It's still a pretty remarkable thing.
Yeah, honestly, I've no, like 3 years ago, I probably wasn't even thinking about this. I probably wasn't even thinking about fighting. I was still, working. I think 3 years ago, yeah, I was working like just a Marco's Pizza or something. I was probably working like some fast food
Yeah,
job making pizzas. Like
we all
I
went
was,
through that. Teenagers, right?
yeah, like I was like, God, yeah, no, I was definitely not thinking about power slap or heavyweight champion or any of this really. I thought honestly, I thought I was going to get out of school and have to join the military to try to pay for law school because my thing is I want to get my law degree, but I want to get it without debt. And like I just don't want a ton of debt with it. So I was really going to join the military and do whatever I had to get this degree.
And you're only what, 21 now or something like that?
Yes, sir. I turned
That's
22 like 2 months from now, 3 months.
so young, man. Such a bright future ahead. So that's why I'm concerned about the concussions and that type of thing. But
Oh yeah, most definitely.
I think boxing and other sports are definitely worse. It just sucks that you kind of got to take it and kind of you just got
Yeah.
you got to take the shot. No, I mean another thing that's amazing about this is like if you remember UFC, like probably not, you weren't even born then, but like Hoist Gracie and the Ken Shamrocks, Dan Severance, all those guys from like UFC one, they're always going to remember the guys that initially pioneered the sport are always going to be remembered, right? But the thing is, you really got to make a stamp. Yeah, you're champion now, but I think again, you got to keep solidifying that name, solidifying that name. But it's going to be legend, especially if this sport takes off and evolves 20 years down the road. It's like the UFC of power, so it becomes big, right? Then you will be remembered as the pioneer of this. Like you'll be like it's gonna be a huge legacy for you. But I still think that you need to solidify more wins to kind of cement that so that your name is constantly remembered. Have you thought about that? That you could be this is gonna be forever, really.
Yeah, I've definitely thought about it, and that's what I'll focus on. I'm definitely hammering in on training, trying to keep those wins going. So I think the last one I just had kind of cements, I'm going in the right direction. I just need to keep focusing on what I'm doing.
Another thing what I was watching this, how do you prevent flinching? Like that's a psychological thing. Another thing when you're looking at power slaps. So I'm standing there, I know I'm going to get hit. Like how do I like I'm naturally going to feel like I want to flinch. How do you maintain staying there and not flinching?
Honestly, it kind of depends on each person. Some people struggle with it. Other people, it's just comes naturally being able to take that hit. But like for people that can't handle it, you close your eyes and you tense up the entire time that they're doing their wind up, and then you just stay there motionless and try to hope you don't sense the hit coming. But
Right.
for a lot of other guys, it's just you're what you're there for. You're going to have to take a hit, so there's no concern with it. But it's a hard thing to fight. You naturally want to flinch when you see that hand coming.
Yeah.
You just have to. That's where that little bit of crazy comes from. You just gotta be able to see that coming and be like, nah, I'm good. I can take that.
That's another thing before we wrap this up. I just want to ask you one more thing. Is there any type of fear? Because you're going against a bunch of savages, guys that are just like they're nuts. There's definitely there's definitely some loose screws out there, and they're just like wild and crazy and barbaric. And you seem like a cool as a cucumber, collective, educated, proper man. You know what I mean? Like clean cut, like, and you're the champion. So it's such a weird contrast because again, you've got the wild savages and then they've got you. So is there any type of fear? Do you ever think to yourself like, man, what am I doing here? Or is it just kind of like, I'm in here, I belong here, I'm the champion? Or how do you kind of view the whole thing?
Honestly, it's the other fighters are just more experienced in other things, and they have their own situations, everything going on. So for me, it's just I go in there to do they call me to do, what I signed my contract to do. I focus on myself and what I need to do to perform, and I just continue doing that. Haven't been bothered by no drama or nothing. Just I just stay focused.
All right. Make sure you stay on before when we say goodbye here because I want to wrap this up. But I just want to
Yeah.
ask you too. So when's the next fight for you? When do you defend next? And who's the next opponent?
That I don't know. They
Haven't told you.
next event, yeah, next event is February, but they haven't told me if I'm going to be fighting that event, who I'm going to be facing. It's kind of up in the air right now because Nate just lost, Dwayne lost to Nate, and
Right.
Dorian lost to Dwayne. So I don't really have a certified top contender right now.
Okay, so it'll fizzle out. At least you get to not relax, but kind of like prep. You got next year. You got to you got some time
Yeah,
to get there mentally and physically. No, that's amazing, man. I commend you for what you're doing. I give you credit. I'm glad that you've got. I wouldn't even say a backup plan. You got your main plan, which is the law, and to get educated. And then you're doing this to build build the cash to pay for that. And why not build some credits? And not only that, you're building yourself your social media platform. You're building your name. You're building your legacy. You're doing everything smart. Again, the only kind of knock to this is like just be careful with those concussions. Just monitor yourself if you don't want to push yourself because again, you got the brain in there, man. You got to get through the
yep,
education.
yeah.
Long term, that's the big vision. I think you know that you got a good head on your shoulders, and I think that's you got a positive future.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that's definitely the biggest concern with the sport, and I've been doing everything I can to try to make sure I'm 100%. But I haven't had any issues right now. I think I only had one concussion doing this sport. I've had more concussions playing soccer than this so
Yeah.
far. So I'm I'm pretty grateful for how everything's been going.
Make sure that neck is nice and strong, man. Some of these guys, they can slug you. So
Yeah, most definitely.
no, man, you answered a lot of the questions here. Because again, as a viewer, you know, like you got to ask these questions. You wonder about these things. You think about them, like how is he doing this? Why is he doing this? What isn't he afraid of this? What that type of thing. So I'm glad that you're able to answer those, and I appreciate it. And a lot of people get some value from this, and definitely some entertainment. So. Damien, man, it was an absolute pleasure. I want to get you on again as this channel continues to grow and as you continue to grow. And I want to see the next. I'm actually going to tune in the next matchup. And that was your last match was the full card I actually watched, and I genuinely enjoyed it, man. I thought it was really good. Some of those fighters were just kind of like after the fight, they were kind of rude to the other fighters, and just
Yeah, that kind of happens. There's a whole bunch of situations going on with them.
but your adrenaline's pumping, right? So like if someone slaps you, it's like an instant rush of adrenaline, right?
Yeah, so it's just the energy coming out. They're excited. It's a big thing to win that kind of match.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. And yeah, so I appreciate you coming on, guys. Make sure you guys follow him. So what's your Instagram at Damien Damien Dibbell? Damien Dibbell?
Yep. Yes,
You guys
sir.
will find him.
Well,
Just look up power slap heavyweight champion. You'll find him.
yeah,
He's omni
it should be easy.
everywhere. He's
Yeah,
a,
it's just the Bell SF everywhere.
yeah.
That's my tag.
All right, Damien Dibbell, man. Go follow him on social media. The man, the myth, the legend, cool as a cucumber, strong as a bull. I don't know what's the strongest animal. 'Cause, strong
Elephant.
as a
Yeah.
lion. I say lion. I'm all about the lion mentality.
Oh,
So
that's true. That's true.
yeah. All right, man. Appreciate you guys. We'll talk soon. Subscribe, drop any questions below, and we're out. Thanks, Damien. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me on, man.
We're out.